And we're live.
It's weird
Hi,
without
Amy.
that lady yelling at us all the time.
Yeah, I know. We upgraded. Um, actually, hopefully this is going to be better. So it's funny because originally I didn't want to use Restream or StreamYard or any of these streaming services for these virtual coffee meetings because they limit the number of attendees, right? But since there has been many weeks where it was just the two of us or just three people, I think that's not necessarily something I should have worried about yet.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of advantages, I think. So it looks nicer. That's one. I can brand it. That's two. So pretty excited about that. How's it going, Amy?
It's going good.
You made a hat?
I did.
You want to tell us about your hat?
It's made from upcycled t-shirts.
Nice. How many t-shirts?
About 3. I didn't use all of it. I still have a little bit of material left. So, a little less than three t-shirts. My size t-shirts, though, not like... There's a big difference in little ladies t-shirts and extra large men's t-shirts.
Right. Little lady. Cool. Yeah, so today I was kind of posting into the community that I was planning to talk about customer discovery and the value of CoStarting for the customer. And lucky for us, we just have someone who is joining us in backstage. I see him, Petru. So let me bring him up here.
Hey guys.
Hey Petru. How are you?
Fine. Amazing. You?
Pretty good. What do you think about this new style here? We are upgrading.
Nice. I actually have to learn from you because I'm still looking for some sort of branded streaming or video stuff to integrate in some, let's say, community gatherings on Wiglet. So I didn't actually study much it, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, happy to tell you everything I think I learned over the last couple of months. I was just telling Emmy, actually, we originally, oh man, I just see something. I made a mistake. Never mind, no one else will see it. Originally, I didn't use any of these streaming services and used Jitsi because it's open, right? Like you can have as many participants as you want and all of that. But there was just, over the last couple of weeks, we just had so many little glitches with it that I was like, okay, it's not going to work. So I bit the bullet and I paid for StreamYard, which is actually what we're using right now. And, of course, you can use, they have a free tier, but it's watermarked and you can't change the branding. I want to say it's $25 a month. So it's not terrible at all. 10 members, 10 participants per call, I think. And then you can have these overlays. You can have the backgrounds. You can change quite a bit. Like I can change the layout like this, for example. Which
okay. Wow, it looks so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's cool. Like it's nice. I know about, but it's more for like traditional social media sharing, and it's OBS Studio, which should be free. And I've seen like some friends doing like really crazy branded stuff around people. And basically connecting that to like, I don't know, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and sharing through the platforms with the graphics that you decide to put, like anything, any shape. It's really cool, but you need actually to dive in, to understand how to connect all the stuff and do all the things. So it's very customized, but you need to make it yourself and spend some time.
Yeah, so that's funny you mentioned this because that was actually my second step, right? So after Jitsi, I explored OBS. Actually, more specifically, I explored Streamlabs OBS, which is similar. The big downside and why I opted ultimately not to use it is that your guests kind of need to know what they're doing. It's not as easy as just you send them a link and they join and it's going to be nice and pretty and everything works, because they need to understand what live streaming, how it works and all of that, right? And that's just not good enough. The user experience wasn't worth it for me. So I played quite a bit with that actually, and there's something called OBS Ninja, which is trying to do that, similar to kind of a Google Meet or a Jitsi, where you just share a link. But I just could not get it to work. The I don't know, the resource requirements or whatever it was, the lag, it didn't really work. So Streamlabs and Restream are two of the probably more popular services which try to kind of abstract that a little bit, right? So it gives you some of the functionalities with the overlays and all of that. You can add, like you just saw, at first everyone is in backstage. I can add you in different stages or different timelines to the call, and it's flexible enough for now, for us at least. So if depends on who your audience is, who your guests are, Streamlabs might work.
Yeah, I mean the
OBS
OBS. We use it for so when I was like doing interviews for the Impact Feature Hub of Turin, which I'm leading. I should do more interviews with people, but there's basically simpler because it's like 1-to-1 interview, maybe 1 to 2, let's say, guests or something, and I didn't use it because I didn't. So basically, I didn't manage to dive in much on that. So actually, the technical guy who knows very well all the streaming stuff managed it. But it was like with OBS, he managed all the graphics and also the show on who shows what. So for example, I could feature only you to people, different sort of angles and so on. But the platform was actually Zoom. So everybody would join in Zoom, simple and easy. And with OBS, he would just decide what to show, who to show with all the graphics around, and it was quite okay. So basically, he made the graphs with Canva. So literally handmade, any way you want, very cool stuff. And then Canva layers put on OBS, and with OBS managing the, let's say, the back end of all the stuff, and with and Zoom basically what was let's say the front end for the guests, but they knew nothing of the background. So it was very simple. You just join in, you talk when you have to talk, and it's harder because, I mean, for example, that guy was really good because he manages to manage it all at a time. If I had to do it, I think it's hard to both speak, talk to the guest, facilitate, and also manage all this stuff. So if you have somebody which in the background manages it, it's very super cool. Else, it's not so practical, I think.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think I already noticed that, right? Because on those calls, on the cohort calls, for example, where I go back and forth between playing in the video updates for the guests, or asking questions, also trying to take notes about any interesting conversations we might have had, and tying it all together, trying to tweet at the same time about all of the things we're talking about. It's very easy to drop the ball, right? So I mean, that would be an aspirational goal for CoStarting, right? To get it to the point where I can have someone managing the streams in the background. That'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely. But it could be like, I mean, it's easier said than done. But many people actually look towards learning this kind of streaming and stuff. So if you'd like rotation-based give to people that want to learn and actually manage it by learning it, and you have always people that actually facilitate through that, let's say the backend part, but also learning the tool that they can use elsewhere. But again, it's like too much mindfuckery about delivering the stuff.
Yeah, right now this is already a pretty good step, right? This is like the second week now we're using StreamYard, so I'm happy with it right now. I bit the bullet. Now I paid. It's always that moment until you pay, and then it's like, okay, it's fine, right? It's a line item on the P&L.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I wanted to ask, how's the weather? Is it colder? Because I understand if it's cold or not in base of the thing that rotates on your head or not.
Yeah, no, actually, it's not at all, right? I mean, might want to take this because you just tweeted about that.
Yeah, no, it's really hot. I just finished making this hat, so I had to wear it.
Looks like winter season there.
Yeah, no, it's apparently 102 degrees heat index outside, so it is not cold at all. I don't know what that is in Celsius.
It means nothing to Petru.
Yeah, I know.
No, but in the meanwhile, I was looking to Fahrenheit converter, which is 37 Celsius, which is actually quite hot.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is the humidity here in Florida. That's creeping up now like crazy.
Oh, that's a global problem.
Yeah. Cool. But hey, so today I think at least for a little bit, what I was trying to do is to talk about customer discovery, value proposition of CoStarting. I know Petru, we are doing some of that on the back end for the Italian market right now. Talking to people. I think we had a really good conversation with some Italian entrepreneurs end of last week, where we're actually diving into that a little bit, right? Like, what is the value proposition? Why would you join a peer group or a cohort from CoStarting? And I even asked them individually, right? And I thought the responses were quite good. So I don't know where we want to start with this, but as you guys have seen in the Slack channel, we have started a design project with Liz and Mawan for that specific topic, right? So there are two designers. They're refocusing their careers. They're going through a program to learn design, UX, UI design. And they're working with me on CoStarting, looking at two different buckets, right? So number one is, who is the customer and how do we reach them? And number two is redesigning kind of the public-facing face, brand, and image of CoStarting, starting with the website. And of course, the customer discovery will be the cornerstone for that, or the starting point for that, right? Because we can't change anything on the brand yet if we don't better understand who is the customer and what are we doing for that customer segment. So I'm pulling up my notes actually from our call from last week, because I thought there was a couple of good things in there. But I wanted to, while I'm reading through my notes, I wanted to ask you two actually what your interpretations so far are. Emmy, you have gone through the cohort one. Obviously, you are one of the people who are getting most of the information firsthand, week over week. And Petru, you have stepped in a little bit later, but have really embraced it and kind of jumped full in and are super helpful, especially with the exploration of the European, specifically the Italian market. So maybe we'll do again, right? That's only 3 people now, but I just taught Petru on the last call. Well, he knew from Techstars, but we always pick the next person. So I'll just pass the mic to you, Petru, for now.
Yeah, sure. So what do you want me to dive into?
Just kind of give me your interpretation from what you know so far, what you think the right customer for this is, and what is this, right? Like, what is CoStarting? And maybe you can answer it from whatever angle you want, either from your personal angle. Why are you excited about it? Why are you here? Why are you helping? Or what have you seen so far? What have you heard so far? What do you think? Who do you think this is for? And again, what is this even?
I think, firstly, let's diving into the sort of needs or pains, and smashing them down to the possible target. I think it should be sort of, or could be related to, first, let's say, people that are sort of lost and need to find a direction. In community, you always find answers, you always find a direction, you always find tips that sort of point out maybe not the way, but a better way. And that sort of helps you, let's say, pivot your destination step by step. So it's like a baby step guide in real time, where you can better pivot your routine, your ideas, your business, your processes, because you can many people that work on different layers of the business and or of their life, because at the end it's all about people, so it could be anything. So I think it's about finding a direction. Second, it's related to the people that that need to feel part of something, I guess. I mean, being part of something, it's sort of important to humans on all levels, because at the end, so this connects actually to the first time entrepreneurs. If you think how all the social scale is created, being an entrepreneur, it's not always viewed as something cool. Mostly in the start, where you're seen as somebody that knows nothing and maybe very young, want to dive into something. So basically what you see is just barriers, which could be from friends that maybe are envy, or just they don't want you to make it, even though, I don't know, could be from family members, could be from business owners, could be from anyone that basically just doesn't want you to start on your own, or creates problems, or just makes you notice only the issues and the problems or the difficulties, but maybe they never even been entrepreneurs, So all this sort of pain when you dive in the first time, maybe you're young and so on, it's like quite hard to get in. And you don't know names, you don't know websites, you don't know communities. Okay, you can look stuff online, but at the very, very first moment, you really feel alone, you really feel lost. So being part of, let's say, digital family, very nomad approach, very global, very inclusive, makes you feel part of something that can really boost you inside. I know a lot of stories of people that maybe the person that actually pushed them when they were like on the brink on leaving it all could even been somebody in a supermarket, or I don't know, like an old man on the street, because they just needed like one guy to tell them they could do it, like anyone, but there was no one. And it's crazy how like crazy stories about that. So in CoStarting, you can have actually tons of people that can tell you you can do it if you're up to be resilient and hard and brutally honest with yourself. So also a community that doesn't just push you to the wall and makes your head bang, but tells you that if there's a wall, just don't bang your head, but if there's no wall, just fucking go in, because you can do it. And that's important to hear. So the good and the bad, that's very important. And so yeah, this kind of orientation and feeling part of something, I think, like deeply on a human level, is very important. And this, let's say, in terms of how of deepness, if the word exists, it's about the quality, the quality, like how deep the quality is. And then on the vertical side, on the more horizontal side, I mean, it's like many things that you can dive in. Yeah, so we can focus on all the, let's say, the practical things that actually the cohorts can give you, the peers can give you, the tools and knowledge and all the stuff. And then we can get into, let's say, more things connected to time management. So again, accountability, again, network and all the stuff, which again, when you say just network, it looks like a buzzword mostly in business, but if you actually analyze each of these words vertically, it's a lot of stuff. Because again, think of what the solution is for. If it's for people that maybe are shifting from a market they know to a market they don't, so again, they feel like it's the first time, only with the experience they had. Think of the people that is their first time in general, or maybe people that failed 3 times in a row and they're still not confident, feel like losers, not because they didn't embrace their loss, but because they're stigmatized, or because in the country they are, fail fast methodology or lean startup methodology does not resonate, and they feel really with low self-esteem. And all this just helps you just push forward, helps you be better, helps you connect to people. And again, for first-time entrepreneurs, network is everything. I remember my first time when I got like a connection, which for me now it's like, I don't know, talking with a neighbor. I mean, it's not that high, in importance, but at that moment, for me, it was talking with Jesus. It was like, wow. because it was for me just so senior, so high, so unreachable in my mind, that being able to have that 30 minutes with that guy, for me, it was just mind blowing. And then I've seen that, you can actually do it. And again, people are people. It's not scary monsters because they're maybe sea level or something. They're just not scary to talk to them. They're emotional. They connect to a human level and so on. So all this stuff, it's something you learn. But if you don't, we as entrepreneurs with some maybe years of experience, we take it for granted. We forget about that because we're so focused on the execution. We forget how hard it was in the start. Also on the mindset terms, and actually making people embrace all of that and having all this, let's say, little things that we didn't know in the start. Actually, it makes a big difference. I think it's a totally big difference.
Yeah, that's so you covered a lot there. But so I love it. I took a couple of notes here, but one thing which stuck out was be a part of something on a human level, right? Which is actually, I think, extremely important, and I'm trying to kind of foster that mentality. And every time I talk to someone about joining a cohort, it's you're committing to yourself and to each other to do this together, right? Like, and you're getting a peer group where you're not just checking in on your progress. Oh, did you tweet? Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you achieve your goals? No, it's just a group who cares, right?
Yeah.
Which actually makes a big difference. Like, and from the first and only peer group we have so far formed out of cohort 1 and 2, and I hear those folks every now and then say, it's like, oh, I really look forward to this. It's like crazy week. This is something which kind of, it's almost like you're going to a bar with your buddies, right? Like used to be. We don't do that anymore. Well, hopefully soon in the future again. But where it's while still making something, while still creating, right? While still working on something to bring your professional life forward. But I think what we oftentimes lose along the way is exactly that, is that connection, right? And as a matter of fact, that's something I'm still sad about that. We barely had that moment at Techstars. I think if we all knew back then that it was gonna be cut short, we would have spent more time in actually making the connections on a human level with each other. But everyone was like, okay, focus.
Yeah.
Let's shine, let's really make progress. And we still have time to connect with everyone, right? And I think subconsciously I took that away and I said, no, let's just make that a part of day one, right? Like that's part of the value. That's at least I intend to bring that across. That's part of the value proposition of CoStarting, right? It's a professional peer group, it's professional cohorts, but you're actually there because I want you guys to connect on an interpersonal level, right? You're not just coworkers. You're not just all people who are working on SaaS projects. Because quite frankly, and that's why I put the cohorts together like we did so far, it's just a jumble. Because what you're working on actually doesn't matter. And it has the nice side effect, if it's a mixed cohort, by the way, that everyone is kind of forced to do customer thinking, right? Like to put yourselves in the shoes of customers, which makes you automatically a better entrepreneur if you do that more often.
Yeah.
Which we know we should be doing that. We should be thinking like our customers, not like the people who make stuff for customers. And then, of course, the accountability and all of that, right? Like you put it very nicely, actually. I try to reuse that, like the horizontal and the vertical upsides of CoStarting. But with everything you said so far, do you think it's fair to say that who we think this is, at least as of what it is today, most valuable for is really those super early stage, potentially first-time entrepreneurs who have not yet found their communities and their masterminds or whatever it might be, right? Potentially, and I want to be really careful there because I know, and I don't just think, I know from the bottom of my heart that it will also be helpful for every single person who was with us at Techstars, for example, right? who are already raising money, who have already raised money. I know they will be benefiting from this if they join. And that's kind of what I wanted to kind of challenge, right? Or have you guys challenge me or help me think through this. Because I also, I think how we talk about it, it's super clear that as a first-time entrepreneur, you get all of these upsides. But I don't know if I want to go so niche in a way, because I also know it's not just for them. Does that make sense? I'm having a hard time expressing that. Like I'm afraid of saying co-starting is for first-time entrepreneurs because I don't think it's necessarily true. I
don't know. You can say it's like for homeless entrepreneurs, not in terms of a home, but in terms of let's say of an emotional home. You know, and most of the time, entrepreneurs don't have an emotional home. I
right,
like,
but aren't we all like that?
Yeah. This is like the real nomad part of the entrepreneurs, I think, because you do so many things on so many different areas, always learning, always meeting new people. You know, I'm always amazed because I meet at least 5 new people each week I talk to every time, you know, and I think, and if I multiply this with all the days in the year and so on for the last 2 years, I think like, fuck, there's like a lot of people. Most of them I don't remember their name. And I know, so this is how, iterations of interaction becomes numbers. And I think CoStarting can make this go back to the human part, you know, and where you can actually stop a little and you interact on a more deeper level, which it doesn't mean that business is not a deeper level, but it means that you take your time to really express yourself because you're not fast on, you know, you don't have to pitch, you don't have to just be, you know, like compress all the stuff in 1 second and just be free, be what you don't have time to be during the rest of the day. I've seen this, I think is now the entrepreneur residence of the new batch of texters, and he's written an interesting post on LinkedIn and said, like, we have so much time, you know, everything like scheduled in slots all days. Like, wouldn't it be amazing to have more spontaneous conversations, or to have just, let's say, schedule some just fun moments with people that we like and enjoy to talk to? And he was given an example of the guy he had a talk to, and basically followed up with an email to actually have another scheduled time, but not for business, but just to one-to-one general talking, because it was just so fun to talk together. Maybe it was a lot of time they didn't talk, and it was great just to keep up and talk about life, whatever. And this actually, you know, it's felt on many levels. And you don't have it to be from that point of view first-time entrepreneur to feel that. Actually, let's say the more an entrepreneur you are, the more you dive into that, the more frenetic your life sort of is, and the more you need to sort of detach and have a moment where you can. It's like a meditation. It's like a cure, you know. It's like a cure for like detaching a bit and talking like human to human. And for first-time entrepreneurs, probably the value is about diving in, knowing more, connecting, networking, getting intros, getting fun, because anyone, I think, from the potential CoStarting environment can intro you to at least 2 people. So if there's 10 people, it's 20 intros, all right? And that's a lot. For a first-time entrepreneur, it's a lot, okay? If you're seasoned one, you say, I know billions of people, okay. If you're a first-time entrepreneur, those 1-2 intros from somebody can make things happen for you, because in that moment for you, even one more intro is good, because maybe you don't have nothing, maybe you don't know who to talk to, maybe you know, so maybe only the people you only know is just in your country, it's in your city, it's, you know, it can change anything. So like the tools that CoStarting can put, which could be, you know, for example, a simple Airtable where people can actually share their verticals, their skills, people know who to reach out, what for, everybody can help each other. Like putting, let's say on public, or at least versus the community, the skills, the network, their verticalities and so on, can be like also a way to connect each other. You know, maybe one's a first-time entrepreneur, doesn't know much about business, but he's a PhD in biomedic stuff. It's a freaking genius, or in genomics, whatever. And somebody is building a company on that, but has no technical guy, and it's just crazy stuff can happen. So yeah, that's probably.
Yeah, I like that idea. We have one more live stream attendee here. I'm going to bring him up. You all know him. You all love him. It's the one and only Radu.
Yeah, actually,
Hi, Radu.
I'm going off in like 1 minute because I'm having a call. But it was super fun to talk to you, and yeah, I'm quite happy about this customer discovery thing. There's a lot of stuff that you can actually really explore and put in community. The cool stuff about the community is that it's a very liquid, concept. You can actually develop it in any way you want, so it's really cool.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Petru.
See you guys.
Let's follow up on the other couple of entrepreneurs we're talking about in Italy. You haven't met with them yet, right?
I have to talk with them, with one of them, like basically in a few minutes, and then I'll hear the other. So I'll try to organize both of them for a meeting.
Awesome, perfect. Let me know.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, bye.
We're just switching them out here.
Well, that's good, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Hey, I mean, there's never too many in these calls, in my opinion. But since we're now limited to 10 anyway, we're gonna.
I think it's great, and I like that you put a theme like customer discovery, right? And I think it's great, and we should think about how to attract more people that can be interested about this. I don't know how this meeting went so far, but validation of the customer and of the problem is phase number one, right after the idea initiation. So it's like it's a good thing that people start talking about it, like understanding even the Javelin board. Maybe it could be helpful, and the next step could be the market and the landing page, business, financials. It could be just a little sprint to have themes for each meeting. It could work.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point. Just to veer off the customer discovery in general here for a second. The themes, right? The deep dives, the topics. We talk a lot about them, and in a way, at least, I want to be able to have these virtual coffees free flowing at least a little bit. But I think giving some guidance into what direction we might be talking about is good. I would love to find people who have some more expertise in that topic, which we might be deep diving into, which is one of the challenges, right? Like is finding those people on a weekly basis. I have been doing this before on a monthly basis with meetups. It's quite difficult, actually, until you had the tipping point, right? Like once you have a community of 10,000 people, of course, everyone wants to talk to them, but in the beginning, it's kind of difficult. But
in the beginning, you might need the theorists, right?
Right. Yeah, and it's always going to be good, right? Even if if you just have a little bit of experience. But I think we're going to continue on trying to do that, right? Like I'm actually talking to hopefully this week again with another local entrepreneur here who I have been in touch with to figure out how can we structure deep dives. He is actually working on the local startup ecosystem here, building an accelerator for his co-working space. And we're talking about how can we work together? How can we bring CoStarting to them, or team up to have these kind of deeper conversations about specific topics. So I don't know if that's going to be the virtual coffee meetings yet, or if that's going to be even cohort tracks or whatever form that's going to take. But I'm starting to have those conversations. Hopefully he's going to kind of join our community here soon as well. I haven't even thought about pulling him into Slack. I should do that. So these conversations are ongoing. Let's put it that way. And of course, in true co-starting fashion, anyone who's watching this either now or later, if you want to be involved in that, if you have something you want to talk about, right? If you have any expertise or just curiosity, because we don't always necessarily just need the people who have done it before. We need the people who are currently doing it and just want to talk about it, right? Peer fashion. Let's just brainstorm things. So If you have any topics you're currently struggling with, you're currently going through, you just learned something, approach me or anyone in the community, and let's set something up. My problem, I'm going to be straight up front with it, is that I usually plan the CoStarting virtual coffee meetings a couple hours before the meeting, right? Like on Tuesday mornings. Literally today, the background, which my beautiful coffee background, was created 3 minutes before the meeting. But I want to, so sorry, Radu, that I'm going to cut you off already, but I want to hear from Emmy as well. So what I asked Petru just before we switched you guys was his interpretation of what CoStarting is and who it is for. You were on the call with the Italian peer group we were planning, and I think we got a lot of that discussion in that call already, but that wasn't a recorded call, that was an intro call. So I want to kind of rehash that and pose the same question, right? Like, and then here after, Emmy, you can try to answer it from your perspective as well. Like, with what you guys know, who do you think it is for? Short recap on what Petra said was, I think I'm going to try to extract, it's really both for first-time entrepreneurs and seasoned entrepreneurs, but they're both getting something else, right? First-time entrepreneurs are getting that knowledge and that feeling of belonging and that power of the network, which they might not be aware yet. And seasoned entrepreneurs are getting that accountability, the more structured way of doing something while yet still connecting on a human level, getting out of your crazy busy day and having an hour a week or a couple hours a week, depending on how involved you get in CoStarting, where you just connect actually on a human level, still around your project or your company or whatever you're working on, but on a deeper level rather than just on a transactional level, right? But Emmy, what are your thoughts? You're muted.
So, not to throw another wrench into your very specific definition, but I also think that there's value in like not labeling it for entrepreneurs either, because like I wouldn't consider myself an entrepreneur. I think there are tons of people out there who would kind of avoid that label. It's kind of scary. I've never like monetized my passions in my life. But to have that community of people who have done this before maybe and have different strengths, and you can just be like, explain to them your passion, your ideas, and really get like more of a map of what would need to go into turning that into something more, I think can be extremely beneficial. Yeah.
That's interesting. I agree. However, I wonder, right? So now we're defining a customer or multiple, right? So, okay, first-time entrepreneurs who already know they're entrepreneurs. First-time entrepreneurs who might not know yet that they are gonna be entrepreneurs, and seasoned entrepreneurs. I like not labeling it, but labeling it is also extremely important for marketing purposes, right? So one of the things I am currently trying to explore with those designer folks is having those personas defined so that we can then, in the next step, look at how do we reach them. Because if I am, let's just say Facebook ads, right? If I'm trying to reach you on Facebook, I need to speak to you as a person, right? Like, who are you? Like, I don't know, this is a terrible ad. I'm not in marketing, but let's just say, are you a first-time entrepreneur? Click here, right? If you think you are, then it speaks to you. Again, this should probably be done by someone else who's better at this than me, but I think you guys are seeing my point here, right? Like, so, and that's that trade-off, right? Like any company, you can't you can't serve everyone. So I guess the question is, who is it for first? And I keep hearing, like as an early stage entrepreneur or first timer, you're going to experience, get all of these value from the people who might have done it before. But then we have a chicken and egg problem again, right? We need both of those, and we need different value propositions for both of those, which I think as the community grows, that's naturally going to happen. We already see it somewhat. We have quite a good mix of stages of the companies. But I think what's next for CoStarting itself is figuring out how to reach people consistently to grow our community, right? And for that, I guess I just need to define, or we need to define, who are those people? Where do they hang out? How do we reach them? I'll throw the same question to Radu while I bring Ray up here. He joined us backstage, and we'll see what he has to say in a minute. Radu, what do you think?
About hi Ray. About the advantages of joining CoStarting from a not transactional point of view, right?
Yeah, not necessarily even non-transactional, like any advantage, but then who do you think, from what you know so far, right? Like, and you know quite a bit. Who do you think is the customer, right? I guess this is really, at the bottom line, is the question. And how do we reach them?
Well, I think first of all, I think CoStarting is good to increase network, exchange experiences, especially on how several issues were solved by other founders or by other content creators, right? It could be a great content creator tool that could also become, as I said once, a video journal about your startup or about your project, and it can give you so much visibility if applied correctly. And this could be crossroads between your customers, if you're a startup, or your investors, or other kinds of partners. It can be a real, a little hub, a little digital hub to encounter different profiles that you could try and work with, right? So to answer your question, who are the main persons that could be interested in this? I think first and foremost, at this stage, probably educators that are interested in these themes, maybe teachers, university teachers, or maybe startuppers that are on an advanced stage of their entrepreneurial career, so they could actually come and talk and challenge what CoStarting is actually giving. Maybe they can brainstorm, they could give some more ideas and so on. And I think a good chunk of people that could be interested in this are professionals that are quite of a different specific category, like negotiators or maybe lawyers, maybe financial advisors, people that are not our most common friends, right? They can actually open some interesting topics that it doesn't even cross our mind, and they usually need even a little bit of visibility. So if they say, look, I participated in this coffee meeting and I talked about that, it creates two things, right? It creates attraction for the coffee meeting, and it actually says, look, I talked about a topic I know more, and there are people that are experienced in other fields that were genuinely interested in what they had to say. And sharing knowledge is the best way to put it at the end of the day, right? So this is how I see it.
Interesting. Okay, so kind of almost you're proposing that not to think that, you know, finding speakers is a challenge, because, you know, people are actually trying to get the word out about what they do, what they know, right? That's a good way to think about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Hey, Ray, how's it going? How are you today?
Doing well. Nice new tech stack.
Thank you. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Thanks for showing, noticing, by the way, that I copy and pasted the wrong link there in the Slack earlier. Yeah, it was due. We had enough problems with Jitsi, but I was just telling Petra earlier, it's until you bite the bullet to pay for something. Once you pay, it's fine. It's kind of just on your P&L, right? But that threshold to actually do it, that's just super high for me every single time.
That if that's not already on your notepad of important entrepreneurial insights, it should be, because I think that's an important thing to be imparting to people who are participating in whatever cohort. Right?
Yeah.
It's the first dollar is the hardest.
Yeah, both to earn and to spend, right?
Absolutely, on both sides.
Cool. Yeah, so we talked a bit about customer discovery, right, in general. So we have 2 new folks in the community who are working with me or with all of us over the next 5 weeks to kind of figure out who is the customer for CoStarting, what are their personas, how do we reach them, and then kind of trying to revamp our public picture through the website primarily a little bit, and trying to get this repeatable, right? Everything we're doing, it's baby steps, but so I was just kind of asking everyone what their interpretation is on who this is for. I know you have shared that before, but if you want to add anything from what you heard in the last couple of minutes here, feel free to do so, or you can talk about any other thing.
My question to you is really about the market. I mean, a lot of startups, maybe what they have is they have a service they want to offer it to some customers, right? They have a clear theory of the service. They're just trying to figure out distribution, right? And it seems like some of the conversation you're having is about distribution. But I'd like to ask a question about value. And value is often not a matter of looking at the individual customer. Value is about the change you're looking to make in the world, right? CoStarting is a .org. Which maybe that's just because the domain you can get, but it sort of is an interesting way of looking at it, right? So what's the mission? What is the thing you seek to be true about the world as a result of CoStarting and being in it and you having devoted some fraction of your limited lifespan to it that was not true before and would not be true without?
Yeah, good question. So I think I'm getting more careful how I answer this. Like a couple months ago, I would have said, well, and this is still, you still see this everywhere, but trying to make collaborative startups a thing, right? Which becomes less and less kind of clear cut. Like if you would have asked me a couple months ago, I would have said, well, it's teaching or bringing opportunity and tools and ways and processes, methodologies to do that, to start your collaborative team, to do, you know, to start a company collaboratively, right? But now I think it's almost become already a little bit, CoStarting right now is one of those tools, right? Like where it might not have to be people who are actually working on your team, but it is those people who are in these cohorts, in these peer groups with you, who are helping you doing just that, right? Like you're collaborating on certain issues with a cohort. It's, you know, a monthly goal, right? We just hold each other accountable to do that. With a peer group, it's a longer process, but I think that's part of it. And like to like, I don't have a real good snappy answer for it yet, I don't think. But what if I turn it around and I answer it from what drives me, why am I doing this in the first place, is because I truly just enjoy helping entrepreneurs figure out the next step, or the first step for that matter, right? Like I love talking to people who, you know, have never been an entrepreneur, who don't consider themselves an entrepreneur, and showing them that it's actually not that hard. Petra said it a couple minutes ago. Like if you've never done this, if you've never reached out to a CEO, you don't know that's just a person as well, and you can get a meeting with them, right? Like it's not unheard of. So that's the stuff I love doing personally, right? Like this is why I started that. And I have experienced and seen the power of this network or any network such as this so many times that I just want to kind of, shout it from the rooftops, right? Like, and I guess this CoStarting is my megaphone in a way now.
Okay, so basically what you're trying to do is replicate Techstars?
No, not at all. Because I was at Techstars at the beginning of last year.
Okay, let me put this different way. The way you express it was you've seen this work a bunch of times in the past. And of course, Techstars is the most high profile thing that's sort of part of your CV. So where has this worked that you're trying to clone or replicate or what have
you? In these grassroots groups, I just organize myself, being it one-on-one, right? Like I have had personal as well as professional mentors for years now. But getting them is work, right? No one is doing that for you. I mean, sure, there is mentor programs you can join. I would argue that those are not as valuable as the ones you just actually seek out yourself. And you have to cultivate those relationships, right? You have to get to know them, first of all, if you don't know them yet. And then you don't just reach out on LinkedIn and ask someone like, hey, do you want to be my mentor, right? Like that stuff develops. And once it does, it's really powerful. So on a one-on-one basis.
So if mentoring is the important thing, why is that not what you're doing then?
Well, hang on. That's the one-on-one basis, right? So it's a peer group. It's just a peer group of two, because a good mentor-mentee relationship is not one way. Like the people who give me the most have developed. They might have started where I was mostly asking for advice, but then they have developed into something where we are sparring partners, right? And the second stage is peer groups, is putting together these groups where I have gotten together with other entrepreneurs on a regular basis, call it a mastermind, call it whatever you want, to do exactly that, right? The only extreme difference we added to it is the building in public, right? Which I actually think has brought nothing but added benefit to it. So comparing it to Techstars, you don't do any peer group working at Techstars, unless you just say to the others, hey, let's sit together and do something. As a matter of fact, I was just complaining about that when I was at Techstars. We probably all thought we have more time to connect with each other on a human level, or just connect with each other. Of course we talked every week, every whatever, in check-ins, but we actually didn't connect, which was very sad. I'm still sad about that, right? Like I lost a lot of that. I connected with some of them, and they have now become great friends and mentors in a way. But I haven't seen anyone doing that on a repeatable, scalable model anywhere, right? That peer group approach, that accountability group approach, other than institutional masterminds.
Okay, so there was a lot packed in there. Is CoStarting a reaction to Techstars, or to your experience there?
I'm sure it's a part of it. I didn't look at it as explicit to that. No. Maybe a little bit.
Techstars is accomplishes a lot. You're looking to accomplish something that is different from that experience. One of the things that's going on here is I think you're conflating three things. One is the change you're looking to make in the world. The second is the experience you'd like your individual clients, customers, users to have. And the third is what you want to do. Of those three, the third is the least interesting, right? Because if you're an entrepreneur, you are a servant of the market. You're not doing the thing you want to do. You're serving the market that you want to serve. So I think the answer to the first two becomes important and needs to be less colored by the third part, because I think that will help you drive towards what to bring Simon Sinek into this, what the why of the organization is, right? Because when you start dialing in like who's the target customer and persona and what have you, that's all assuming a lot about the core of the mission. The question is, what is, you have some bigger thing that's sort of unalloyed or unpolluted by the consideration of too much detail, right? You have this arc of your career so far, this experience you've had. And it seems like there are sort of three of those experiences. You have these one-on-one relationships you've kept up with senior people. You have peer groups, masterminds that you have held that have been beneficial to you. And third is maybe the experience with Techstars. And none of them are perfect, right? You see things that are missing, and you see that there's a potential in all these three things of the way the world could be, right? And your mission, your .org mission, is elevating the world, maybe the world of entrepreneurship, I'm not entirely sure, to whatever that next state is, which can be described using a few words, if only because it's it is at that point, unalloyed by the complexity of detail. And then once you know where you're going, right, that why of it, you're able to break it into the hows and from there into the what's. And like talking about like user personas is much more into the what's of it. It's like 2 levels below that question of where you're going. And the thing, the reason I talk about like the conflation going on here is because the why isn't that clear. I think as you're trying to do the what's, you're trying to make them into a singular block.
Oh,
you're at the same time trying to do the why.
No, you're good. You're good. Your audio was gone for 2 seconds.
Sure. What I'm trying to get at is, if you understand the purpose at the high level, then you can separate that from what you're trying to do, right, at the service delivery level and therefore personas, et cetera, level. Because it is likely that the change you're looking to make in the market, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you could do about it, but a few things that are at that intersect of both high value hard and that you bring special sauce to, right? And the ones that are in the upper right on that, I know I'm reversed on the camera here, but the ones that are in the upper right of that graph, those and that which is going to be greater than 1, but probably less than 10 things, those are going to be the individual initiatives or values that you're looking to bring to the table here. And this is where, like, we talk about like video or being in public or what have you. There are a few different angles on all that, but I think though this question of where you're trying to go, or really where you're trying to lead the whole of the market, is what will give you greater clarity, right? In order to be able to drive and get value from this investment you're making of time and money with these interns who are doing the design work for you, or these kinds of conversations, or the meetings you're taking with other senior people, because none of them can tell you where you want to go, right? They can only tell you how to get there.
Yeah, that's interesting, but like it's the conflict I have in this, or I see in this in general, because this very much applies to, I think, anything other than CoStarting as well, right? Is, you said that the 3 steps, right, or the 3 things. It's changing the world, experience for the members, and then what I want to do is where setting that why is mostly 3. And again, what we teach and what we think we know is that we should not be doing that, right? We should actually be looking at the customer first, like that number 2 and maybe 1. I think 2 is probably the most important, right? And not just the experience I want them to have, but the experience they want to have. Now, of course, you can argue, well, they would have liked faster horses, right? All of that. But what's the problem I'm trying to solve, right? And that's kind of how I look at customer development right now, rather than saying, okay, what am I going to build for them? But like, what's the value? Yeah, that's where you started. What's the value for, I don't know who, right? Like, what is what we have done so far, what we have experimented with so far at CoStarting? Who is probably who has the most value out of these things, right? And then we can mold them towards creating even more value for that. And then, I mean, I don't know, like I can see that contradiction for that why, and and then simultaneously focusing on the customer, right? Because the why is my why, or I don't know, a global why, wherever that why is coming from.
But the why isn't a question of what you want to how you want to spend your time. The why is a question of what value you have, right? Or what's important to you, right? That is, it's a moral or at the very least, it's an ethical statement, right? Of what you think. I mean, even just sort of limited to the world of entrepreneurship. What do you think entrepreneurship should be? What do you think entrepreneurship is missing? Why is it that Techstars is failing in its mission? Because it's missing X, right? And you looked around and you're not finding that X anywhere else. And you realize if you want X to exist in the world, you're going to have to make it happen. And now you know that X is your Y. Forgive the pun, that X is your Y. But the and then you can dial in on that. Now the question is, how do you bring that, and who do you bring that to? And but it seems like you've got that just barely out of your reach, right? The answer to that question. And that question comes from self-knowledge and like looking back at your own history of, what made you decide to do this in the first place? What's been the arc of your career where you've seen, wait, there's a gap. And if this gap were filled, a lot of people could be having a much better time, and there's, meaning that could be created in the world. And that's the reason why you decide to do this thing that's never going to make you ultra wealthy, right? But that can make you make a difference.
Right.
And that difference is the reason you're doing it. And then everything else is just how you affect that difference. Because once you've disconnected the question of why you're doing it from the specific initiatives, I think you will give yourself permission to do a lot more pointy, hard things that will drive more value for people. Like you will give yourself permission to be much more opinionated as to what a co-starting cohort should be doing, as opposed to very loosely holding the reins and allowing 4 people out of 5 every time to hit red, because they pick their own goals and those goals were way out of reach, and everybody gets to do what they're doing, but then they do it and then we never hear from any of them again. They all put down their projects at the end of the month. That's not the change you're looking to make. You're looking to make that they create something that can then persist, right? So what correlates with the success? And that drives more into the what part, right?
Yeah.
But the question is, when you think about the cohorts you've done, when you think about the experiences you've done for the last couple of years, what has made you say, yeah, that was a good use of my time? Right? Because I made a difference to somebody, to a community, to the world. And I think if you get that lined up, you get that becomes the North Star.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. I do need to reflect on that a little bit. Maybe just sit there, stare at the trees, figure that question out, right? Because it's kind of hard to do that, actually. But you're right. I think I should do that, and then see how that. I'll share it, of course, with all of you, right? And I'll let you kind of pick it apart once I've done it, because that's just I don't know. That's how I do it. That's what co-starting is about. But interesting. I like that. So again, Ray, what I appreciate about you is these constant challenges, right? Because I think that is what that's what part of that peer advantage is. I don't know. Everyone always says, well, I don't need yaysayers in my world, right? But like let's truly embrace that, right? Like my personality has always been, you can't offend me, right? Like I don't take things personal, especially not if we're talking about business. So again, just wanted to say thank you for that. Same thing goes for, the other guys and gals in general, Emmy and Radu. Appreciate the continuous feedback and help, right? And trying to make this something valuable, because I think that's a good note to kind of end on. At least I'll end it on here, and I'll let you guys say anything else if you want. But that's the goal, right? Like Ray, you're right. This is not probably going to be $1 billion company. I say probably because we need some hope, but but I think it can have a lot of value and can make a lot of impact, right? And we talked about it before. There might be a lot of auxiliary things, like maybe there's going to be a fund, which is a sister company or something, along the lines, and build out this universe, this co-starting universe, which can create maybe more wealth. But for now, I do agree. The focus needs to be on what's the value which is ultimately going to be delivered. And we talked about it before, right? Which is it's a fine line to walk as an entrepreneur. Is how much value can you create, and when do you start to think about how do you monetize it to actually also sustain your life and your family's life and so forth. And that's a constant battle, right? So, but I'll keep working on that with all your help. Awesome. Radu, Emmy, did you guys want to say anything else? We need to commend Emmy's hat one more time. Those were three T-shirts. If you guys didn't hear
nice
it before.
Thanks.
I'm glad I could join in the last few minutes. Right, it was good seeing you again, and I will see you all around. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.